Bravo. Bravo. Well done. Well done. I think that, where did you end? Point to where you just were. Can you play this last chord, you and Alex?
Sure.
And then the next one? Yeah. So what do you think you're on there?
The seventh.
That sounds like a seventh to me.
Sounds like it needs to be lower.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but the other thing is, like, just, you know, it's, you're not going to burn it. You're not going to stick out of the texture, right? Okay. So, like, what would you say, you know, are you on the... What's that C? Third to the seventh to the third, exactly. So, you know, you're going to, you know, rather warm to very warm to rather warm.
Okay.
Right? Can we have everybody play the last 2.5 bars there? When you have these triplets, ticka-ta-ta, ticka-ta-ta, go ahead and let those come out a little bit more. Don't be frightened, right? It's supposed to come out just a little bit. You know, you don't want to sting it or anything like that. But I hear people maybe they're playing on the wrong side of soft, too soft, so it comes out less confident. Okay, so be confident, be courageous, and let it come out. There's the gravity that's necessary. Where you would lean into those phrase moments, right? And then, again, be courageous. That's frightening. Yeah. Those low notes. That's tricky. I get it. I get it that it doesn't come out as well as you'd like. Forgive me, everybody in YouTube land. I forgot that my mute was on there. Mike and I just had an inside joke, and you'll never know what it was. You want to give it another go? Yeah. Okay, like a espressivo bordoni. Okay. Wow. Bravo on your work, you guys. Bravo. Bravo. So playing the bass trumpet there. Would you mind if, like, tell the world, like, this is, you know, Mike Tybursky is borrowing my bass trumpet, and this is bass trumpets are not easy to come by. They're rather expensive, and most of the time when you see them, they are pitched in B flat. My bass trumpet is pitched in C. The reason that I got my horn pitched in C was because number one, the transposed parts are a little bit easier to read in C. Basically, as a trombone player who's played euphonium, you essentially use similar fingerings to tenor clef down an octave. Is the way that it works about 80% of the time. It's not a magic bullet. Not every fingering is the same. I think that's the biggest adjustment that trombone players have to make when they're playing a valved instrument, is they can't do the micro adjustments on the slide. Those micro adjustments happen on your face. And the nice thing about that is you got a pitch finder here operated by the thumb, which kind of helps, although again, being a trombone player, I'm sure you would speak from experience that it's like, oh yeah, I can do that here, but it takes a while. This is not without its problems. Doubling in and of itself is typically an event that is underestimated by us and our friends. When we have to play alto, for example, right? You practice it as much as you think you need, and then you get in the middle of the gig, you're like, oh my God, I wish I'd practiced this a lot more, right? And the same thing is true of euphonium, same thing is true of bass trumpet. When you pick it up, especially reading it in a new key, you're not guaranteed to get the transposed parts. How many parts, or how many times does your part transpose? Looking at the opera part.
I think it's in C, E flat, and D.
C, E flat, and D.
Throughout the ring cycle.
Throughout the ring, you're having to switch on the fly.
Probably in B flat as well.
And that's why you can, with a little bit of looking, you can find transposed parts. I found those, and I only recently made Mike aware that this was available. So he's been playing and transposing, and I think you're doing a great job of it. Is there anything that you would say was a difficulty that you didn't anticipate, that maybe people watching can be forewarned about playing bass trumpet?
In general?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're transposing, then do it before you meet for rehearsal.
If you're transposing, do it before you meet for rehearsal. But you know what, I have to say that's actually, if you are ever charged with playing bass trumpet, usually you do get doubling. So that's that premium, it's not just for free. You do have to do some legwork for it. And the first time I had to play bass trumpet was doing Leinsdorf's edition of the Ring, and I remember getting the part and then finding all the places that it was taken from, and then making copies of my C parts, and then cutting those up and pasting those into a page, and then copying those pages so that I had everything marked out exactly the same, but in C, with the actual dynamic markings and the rehearsal letters and everything. And it was several days at Kinko's. But the whole time I was just like, well, this is what doubling is for. Right. In addition to that, I had to spend time, as I'm sure you did, like learning how to play bass trumpet, which is a challenge in and of itself. The function of bass trumpet in Wagner's writing is a more effective bridge between first trombone and third trumpet. Okay, and what you have to do is think about that the tessitura is very similar to the tenor trombone, but you want to play with a kind of a trumpety sound. And that's the other reason that I got my horn in C instead of B flat, because every time I played a B flat, I felt like it sounded like a valve trombone. The sound was so similar to a valve trombone that I felt like it was kind of like well, why wouldn't I just play a valve trombone then, right? When I play bass trumpet, I play my C bass trumpet, and I put a rather small mouth in it so that I sound like a trumpet, not like a trombone.
And it's not just small, it's shallower than any I've ever used for bass trumpet as well. So
you're using my mouthpiece, and you're saying that it's shallower.
Yeah, I like the shallowness of the cup for the trumpet sound.
Yeah, it's so it's like it's a tighter diameter, and it's a shallower cup. Yeah. The fact that it's a rotary means that it's going to have more of that warmer characteristic. When trumpets play rotaries in Brahms and Mozart and Beethoven, the sound is, as we said before, kind of like by default a timpani hit. It's got kind of a warmer front, but it does have a fluorescence to it, and especially with that smaller mouthpiece, you can achieve that fluorescence a little easier. But it's difficult and it's expensive, and it takes a little while to recover the funds that it costs to buy one in the first place. Yeah, hats off. Do you want to use my part? I noticed that we forgot to turn on the iPad in case you did.
No, I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if I decide to slide in there and try it, I am not going to be able to sight read transpose parts. 7139. Oh, go away, Siri. There you go. So you got the Walküre ready to go. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, when you play this, and for all the low brass, when you're playing sort of tenor trombone on these licks where you know that there is a bass trumpet playing along with you, default to a slightly warmer sound than you typically would. The function of the bass trumpet is to add a little bit of brightness to the tenor trombone register, the tessitura that the trombones play in, so that they don't play aggressively, right? So there's no reason to add so much heat, not that you were going to anyway, but and I know we talked about this, but this is for everybody in YouTube land. When you're playing Die Walküre, stop short of being aggressive. Keep it nice and warm with like I said, like a shine on it, but never let the shine define the sound, because that's actually the function of the bass trumpet in that range. Okay? Shall we roll forward to the big lick, the Das Rheingold lick? Yes.
You want Liz to jump in?
Oh yeah. Let's go to the Das Rheingold, and that because it's a bigger lick, and then we'll have whoever wants to rotate in. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it sounds a little robotic, wouldn't you say? Bum, ba, 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 bum, right? Is there a way that we could make that sound more engaging musically? It kind of sounds mechanical. I would boom, ba, 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 boom, ba, 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 boom, ba, 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 ba. It's not that it wasn't offensive. It was fine. It's not that it was offensive. It was not offensive. I think it was a great event. I just think that can be more musically engaging. We're trying to figure out how to do that. Boom, ba 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 ba. Everybody say boom.
Boom.
Like B-O-H-M. Boom. Now say ba. So it sounds like you're going ba, 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 ba. And I want you to go boom, ba, 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 ba. Boom, ba, 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 ba. So we're leading to the big beat after the triplets. Boom, ba, 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 ba. Boom, ba, 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 ba.
Boom, ba 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 ba. Boom, ba 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 ba. Boom, ba 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 ba.
Right. Now this actually happens a lot. I think that people make too much of an event out of a decay, and it turns into a separation. Ba, 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 ba. And then it starts to sound very mechanical, right? We lose the musical engagement. It's not fun to listen to. It's just like, well, we're counting time, okay? Do you mind if I jump in there? Where did you guys start?
So we have C marked. I'm just going to pick up to 3 before that.
And so
you'll hear Bruce.
Yeah. No, and it's not necessarily that I want to play it with you. I just want to try to demonstrate the two different styles. So hopefully what you're hearing is that, like, I am leading to the downbeat, and there's a significant more sustain, right? And the way that I'm accomplishing that isn't without decay. I'm decaying on the 8th note. Bum, ba, 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 ba. I'm not going ba, 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 right? So the sostenuto is there, but there's a shape to it that's musically engaging. Boom, ba, 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 right? And so we're leading always to the downbeat. Boom, ba, 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 instead of ba, 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 which is what I was hearing. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 right? You hear that we're displacing the downbeat. Emphasis on the wrong syllable. Okay, so can we all do that? Yeah, maybe I do want to play, but I don't want to play the whole thing, and I don't want you to play the whole thing yet.
Right at C where Bruce comes in.
Oh, I see that. 1, 2, 3, 4th of C. Yeah, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2. As we do that, because I just spent the last feels like 20 minutes talking about an accompaniment to a main melody, right? The bass trombone and bass trumpet, right? So was that easier? Usually when we get it more musically accurate,
I felt more free to breathe.
You felt more free to breathe.
At certain points, yeah.
Okay. When it becomes more organic is typically when it becomes easier. Okay. And yeah, let's have you jump in one more time, and then if we have more time after that, then we'll put Liz in. Okay.
No, let's do the back to
Pick up into 3
Bravo. apart from the. I'm surprised you didn't bring this up actually. Without the inherent difficulties. It's like find the spit. A game that you never have to play when you play trombone.
Trombones are just so much simpler.
Yeah.
We are ensemble people.
So like you've got the main valves here, but I have cut myself.
I feel like it's in the third valve.
It probably is,
I
but
can't get it out.
These keys, I've cut myself on them, and like I remember specifically, it was because we're doing Rite of Spring, and I had to like pick up, the horn really quick and do the, I got doubling. But the thing is, I needed to empty my spit, and my hands were sweaty because I was nervous, and the horn slipped as I gripped it really tightly, and it sliced my finger, and just like it's not easy to hang on to. So find the spit. There's two things that you can do. One, you got to learn from your horn brethren, and you basically from the bell you go back. Okay, so it's ahead of this spit valve. Sorry, it's ahead of this spit valve. So you follow that around out, so it's here, and you just got to figure out the right way to rotate it. There it goes.
Whoa! Wow.
Yeah. Ever see a horn player empty the spit?
Yeah.
He's like empty spit ninjas. They're like, boom. And you're like, how did you do that? It's a practice. Oh my gosh. Okay.
They've got like 4 tuning slides in one hand.
Yeah. Okay. Liz, you want to give it a shot?
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's gone.
All of that. Sorry. It's that whole thing again. It was muted. Sorry, YouTube. Sorry.
It was fun.
We heard it.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. We moved this chair, so I was supposed to sit here. Patrick, you're intimidating. So I didn't want to sit in front of you.
Okay. You ready?
Hold it.
Yeah,
Look.
backwards.
Yeah. So, if you have to choose one of the triplets to lean into, it's the first one.
Right.
Da, 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 da. Well done. All right, let's move on, shall we? Yeah. Bravo. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is in the third valve.
That didn't do anything.
That's funny. Okay, so when in doubt, this also works. Woo. Got the abs worked out there. Okay, so we're moving forward to Die Walküre, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I brought props, and I hope everybody has fun with this. But we've already been through this. So I know they can play the rhythm correctly, but I have this tool for learning how to play Die Walküre that I want everybody to incorporate. Okay, and you use this in your own practice, and you use it to teach other people, so that they don't mess up on Die Walküre. For opera auditions in particular, but also for orchestra auditions, Die Walküre is a really challenging thing for people to play accurately. People get washed out because they can't play Die Walküre right. I wouldn't say more than any other excerpt, but it's definitely up there. Okay, a lot of people have trouble playing the rhythm convincingly. Okay, ba 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 ba. A variant of that, anything close to that, bum ba 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 ba, right? Or a bum ba dum ba ba, bum ba dum ba ba, right? Anything. The thing is, nobody ever plays bum ba 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 or a bum ba dum ba ba. Very rarely do people play that, right? But they play with the tiniest hint of it, and to a committee, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Like, oh no, get him out of here. Okay, and they don't actually say that, but the result is the same. You're done. Okay, so for anybody that's actually practiced the rhythm at a variety of tempos, making sure that the style and the rhythm are consistent and convincing. To play with bad rhythm on Die Walküre is painful to listen to. Okay, so you have to have a way to teach it. I've heard Amsterdam, Namsky, but that suggests that everybody says Amsterdam the same way and Namsky the same way. That's one of many that I've heard it. But this way that I have to teach it, which we're going to go over now, seems to be foolproof. And it just has to do with your ability to do hot cup of tea. Hot cup of tea. Okay? You've heard this? Hot cup of tea? You ever do hot cup of tea? Hot tea is 2 against 3. All right, now, I'm not going to do the math, like write it out or anything like that, but everybody take a cup, okay? Take your cup, put it in one hand. Let's see, whatever makes the most noise. Well, you figure it out. Okay, so let's say that the cup goes in your 8th note hand. Oh, shoot, how about your duple hand? How do we get we need more noise, right? This is not working out as well as I'd hoped. Hold it. We all got to be going to the same tempo here. This is anarchy. Let's find the right pitch. Does everybody have a hard surface? What about on your chair? There we go. Okay, stop. Yeah, I think we got it, okay? Okay, so the 8th notes, let's see here. Yeah, 8th notes are on yeah. All right. Okay, so the whole point is that like I want to give you a souvenir to take home. I'm that generous. But also I want to hear really hard the triplets. Okay, and we have to play this together. Okay, so let's start slow. Hot cup of tea, hot cup of tea, hot. The duple eighth notes are on your cup on the chair. Okay, okay. 1, 2, 3. Good. Not a big problem, right? It seems like you all know hot cup of tea, okay? Can you sing Die Walküre over it? Okay, goes, I have to switch it. I like to hear the triplets in the cup for some reason. Bum, bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, bum, ba-dum, ba, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, bum. Right. Now, listen, the thing is, the math works out that the duple eighth is right where the 16th is. Okay, the duple eighth. Okay, so the first note of the figure of the first beat is the dotted quarter or the dotted eighth, and that's going to be the first triplet. And then you get the second triplet, nothing happens. Then you get the second eighth note, the second duple eighth note, that's right where the 16th is supposed to be. If you count out the 16ths, it's right at the halfway point. You get 3/16, that's the first duple, and then 3/16, and that's the second duple. Okay, so that fourth 16th is right where the second duple articulates. Okay, and then the last triplet is the last note of that first beat. So, let's see. Bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba. Ah, I lost it. Bum ba dum ba bum bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba. So you need to be able to do Die Walküre at a variety of tempos and have it be rhythmically convincing. And I found of no better way than you're going to class and you just like sitting there on the bus. Bum bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba, or bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba ba bum ba-dum ba. Right? Listen, there's no shortcut for repetition. Okay, and rhythm has to be infectious. You ever hear a song, you start like bobbing your head because the rhythm kind of gets in your bones, right? What if you took it past playing with accurate rhythm and you said, oh, I want to play with infectious rhythm, all right? For rhythm to be infectious, it's got to be more than right. It's got to be convincing, and then it's got to be engaging. And this is the way you can make it happen. Who's been near a drum circle? Yeah, yeah. This is what always happens in a drum circle. People are just like, yeah! And then somebody's just like, yeah! Oh, he's got the rhythm. And everybody starts like bouncing their heads and like, I want a drum. Right? That's, yeah. And people are like, I'm going to do triplets too. Okay. I see your look, right? Eric's there. He is there. He's on. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is have our band section here doing our hot cup of tea while our low brass plays Die Walküre. Now you don't have to use the cup. Actually, now that we have them out, I feel like it's more trouble than it's worth. So if you just do it on your, Okay?
Should we do the minor or the major?
Let's start. You know what? Let's just get everybody playing.
Major.
Let's do the second major section, okay? Now, we all prepared the entire, opening of the third act, but I want to get everybody playing. And the thing that I want to make everybody aware of is that typically you've got the three sections. For trombone players, less so than tuba players, we have to prepare the minor and the major section. And getting the rhythm right is part of the battle, but you have to understand that typically the third time it comes around, it's much more dramatic. In fact, the last statement, it's much slower. Okay? So people typically, they fall into two traps with this. They can't put the accents on the downbeats because, as we discussed before, short notes sound softer than long notes, and there's a dotted quarter on beat 2, right? So the fact that it's longer means that it's possible to displace the downbeat. We don't hear the accent. Moreover, it's higher. Bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, right? We hear it higher, and so because it's higher and longer, trying to keep everything equal, it could sound like it's got the accent instead of the downbeat. So that's problem number one, past just getting the rhythm right. The other thing that's a problem is people typically play it fast enough that they can't be consistent. And then if the conductor asks them to play slower, everything falls apart. This is why we have to practice our dynamics at a variety of tempos, right? Right? You mentioned the tempos earlier for Bruckner.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. All right, let's get you guys done. All right, here we go. Die Walküre. All right, let's get the tempo first. Bum, ba-dum, bee, bum, bum, ba-dum, bee. Come on, like you mean it. You're going to need to be able to hear this. Okay, go ahead.
2, 3, 1,
So what do we notice about that? It's a little bit harder when you play it slower, right? Now, the thing that I was missing is that kind of sustained ring, right? Yeah, like it's what typically happens when you take a fast excerpt and you slow it down, and I want you to remember this. I know we're all tired, but I want to leave this with you. Like, the style has to maintain its integrity, okay? So if you take all the notes and you slow them down, typically their note length, like the decay, stays where it was when you were going quick, right? And we're missing the sustain. Therefore, the momentum of the phrase is lost, okay? I feel like there was an audition that I didn't do so well in one time because it was playing Die Walküre, and I was crushing it. It was feeling really good, and they said, yeah, can you play it much, much slower? They actually gave me the tempo. And my problem was, I found out later that I kept the 16th the same length, the same note length as when I was playing it fast. And that was because I hadn't put the microscope on the excerpt at a slow tempo up to that point. So it was like playing at this tempo, and I played with a clipped 16th consistent with how short the note would be if I were playing it fast. So I was going bum bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba. Listen to the 16th, bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba. Right. So they wanted it bum ba bum ba, but I went bum ba bum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba. I mean, I could not figure out where to put that because I hadn't practiced it slowly. Sustain is the moral of the story. Okay, but you do have to practice at a variety of tempos, okay? That's one of the keys to being
adaptable musicians.
Oh, I love you guys. Yes. Okay, let's hear it. More sustained. Go ahead.
Two, three, 1, 2.
I'll tell you what, I could use more from both you guys, right? Like bum, ba-dum, ba, like on the dotted eighth and the 16th. And that's not like industry wide. I just like in this moment, like balance wise, I can use more from the bottom, right? Sounds, to be honest with you, it sounds a little too nice. It sounds a little too nice, right? Want to give it a shot? Kyle's ready to jump in. Should we get our rhythm section going? Yeah. Israel, you have a question? I was wondering if I could. You want to play too? All right. Now's the time. Can we get... You guys figure it out. You know, while we're stopped, I was asking Mike Tybursky about like inherent difficulties to playing bass trumpet that were unforeseen. Dan, did you notice like times when you felt like you know, if you had a contra, the job would be easier or harder? Like,
in lots of ways, it was much harder. But
it was harder to play it without the contra. Is that what you're saying?
Certain circumstances, it's easier to have the contra, just balance-wise, because you just feel like the sound a little bit better.
So you feel like you could have balanced the ensemble better if you had the contra, or?
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I think so. Then, technique-wise, typically it's easier to just play on bass.
Technical, yeah, yeah. So you're saying technically, it's easier to play it on bass. This is the horn you're familiar with. You spend the most hours playing on this horn. It's because it's most familiar. It's not going to be, you know, you're not going to have the technical hurdles. And this is, you know, I can see the same thing happening. Like the argument is made for tenor trombone players playing alto. You know, it's enough. It presents enough of a risk that you start wondering if it's worth the effort. Yeah. Yeah. No, you look like you had a question. I got excited. Class and participation. I mean, I live for that. You know, people have questions.
Actually, I do have a question.
All right.
With the ride sequence, how do you pace breathing so that you get? I mean, like, if we're trying to form 4-bar phrases, what's the best way to pace your breathing?
You're wondering about breathing and. Let's see, point to where you are. Is it here?
So typically down here, I'm breathing every 2 bars.
Yeah.
But at this slower tempo, I'm finding that I need to breathe more.
Yeah. I breathe every 2 bars. I mean, I don't like make an event out of it. It's not a phrase breath. But I just find that symmetry is easier to maintain. It's a 4-bar phrase, and in the middle of it, I lift. I think it's possible to make too much out of it, right? Really, we're looking for that emphasis on the downbeat, right? So with that kind of emphasis, you know, firmly in place, you could displace that with a variety of factors. One of them would be like making too much out of other phrase agenda moments, like I've heard sometimes bum bum ba dum bee ba bum ba dum bee ba bum ba dum ba ba, and especially because it's not marked, I question whether that is pulling attention away from the money moment on the downbeat. So like what I'm suggesting that you do is just continue with the 2-bar phrase technique. Just don't make a big deal out of the breath. Hide the breath.
I understand.
Okay? Go ahead, Jackie.
I have a question from online.
A question from online.
Yes. It says, for these excerpts, what are some things you would do differently for an audition versus in the orchestra?
For these excerpts, what are some things that I would do differently for the audition versus in the orchestra? Not a lot. For this one, for Die Walküre, there's just not a lot different. I think the biggest difference is that because we don't have an assistant in Boston, the big difference is that I play bass trumpet when we do Die Walküre. So far, I'm the one who plays bass trumpet, and that's the big difference. Apart from that, I don't notice a big difference at all. And we did a lot of opera music with Levine, and we continue to do a lot of opera music with Andres Nelson's. However, I think this summer is the first time that we'll get an opportunity to play a big Wagner opera, which is Das Rheingold. So I'll be learning the big lick that you just played, but I'll have a transposed part. So there's not a big difference, but I think that's a well-founded question. It's a good question, intelligently put, because there are some things different for audition preparation than playing in the ensemble, and they typically have to do with volume. For example, Mahler 3, right? There's times when you want to demonstrate that that the volume of the whole section, ba 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 ba, right? It's marked. I think it's marked forte. Maybe it's fortissimo there, but the whole section is playing with you, and so you kind of like fill out the sound when you play it by yourself in an audition in a different way than like actually when we play it here. I actually reduce a little bit as an opportunity to rest, and then I bring it at the end.
Toby, is there an element of that in this excerpt?
In Die Walküre.
Yeah. Of just when you're playing it by yourself, that's not how it happens in the orchestra, obviously.
Yeah.
So, how do you approach that in an audition?
Be more specific, can you?
Volume-wise.
Like where?
Mostly just volume.
Mostly volume. I feel like you're asking if I would play it louder in the orchestra than I play it in the audition. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think the other way around.
Softer? No. It's funny. Playing in the ensemble, it feels like everything is much slower than I prepared, and the dynamic range is far greater, right? In an audition, I keep coming back to Mahler, but because Mahler covers a pretty wide dynamic range, and I find that in the orchestra, when I play Mahler 3, the dynamic range and the tempo are just much more grand than when I play by myself in an audition. So for Die Walküre, I think I would say that it's just more full in the orchestra. Like I think it's a weird thing. I'm trying to think of one thing that would be different, and the biggest thing that's different is like on the bass trumpet, I feel like I can demonstrate style a lot more effectively I think it's just the nature of the instrument, because it's surprising. I wouldn't say necessarily in this orchestra, but like gigging around. Before I was a professional at the level that I'm at now, you go to play Die Walküre and people aren't playing the same rhythm, and you can kind of command style, I guess, with the trumpet. It's kind of makes you feel kind of strong, yeah, I think I keep coming back to the adaptable musician, and as far as like asking a question like what's different insofar as playing in the audition and playing the ensemble, the adaptability quotient is what makes it different. That's you get in the ensemble, and it's not any one thing that you could put your finger on, but you end up playing it a lot different than you would play it in the audition, because in the audition the comments are few, and you're much more available when you play in the ensemble to the proclivities of the conductor and the parts that are more important than you. And so it depends on the concert. It really depends on the concert, and you being an adaptable musician as part of your professionalism and getting tenure, this propels you to adjust, rhythm slightly, and then especially harmony. But overall of that is blend. The volume that you play, it's typically going to be louder. But I pointed out several times, especially in the Bruckner, where I would potentially play less than I would play it in the audition, because I want to be a comforting colleague or a gentle colleague to my friends and the people I admire who have more important parts than me. I don't want to make their job difficult. And that propels me to play things differently than I would play them in an audition. Right? Yeah, but you can't really put your finger on it. I hear what the question is like, what's different specifically, and it just doesn't work like that. The last word mentality is going to get you into a lot of trouble. Last word typically has you being inflexible at a time when you just can't afford not to be flexible, right? So, yeah, I think that answers that question. Any other questions? Hit it, Patrick.
When we were rehearsing this, we had a discussion about the phrasing in the last 8 bars, because it's obviously different.
Yeah.
And the two camps were either it's still on beat, the phrase still goes to the 3rd bar, or it goes to the 4th bar.
Point. What were you talking about?
Either like to that bar or that bar.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the discussion was, it's like even if like if the phrase peak is beat 4, how do you get there without it sticking out?
Beat 4.
Or I mean not beat 4, but measure 4.
Measure 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, ba bum ba dum ba. That's what I would lead to.
Okay.
So bum bum ba dum ba. That's like a question. Bum bum like, and then I went to the store and I got some bread, and the cashier didn't take credit cards, right? So so it goes somewhere, right? Like I went to the store, it's obviously going somewhere past there. It's like, what's that?
What year is it?
What year is it? Yeah. On the night I go back. Bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, ba bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, bum bum ba dum ba, ba bum ba dum bum ba dum bum ba dum bum. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it's. You're obviously leading. Yeah. On the night I go back, I have to tell you about the future. Okay.
We have to go back.
Yeah.
This is heavy.
All right, you guys. I can tell we're starting to devolve. So let's. We all want to go where?
To the clock tower.
Clock tower. I'll meet you there. Oh, man.
Too good. Oh, man.
I would have been there, but I got locked in the trunk. We're going to Tasty Burger. We are going to Tasty Burger, so let's put this to bed. What's that? Yeah. This is the time. We're playing it.
Two, three, 1, 2.
Don't paint yourself into a corner. That's what that is. Like every time I look at that happens to the best of us, okay? And the answer is, support from where? Between your hip bones, right? Below the navel. That's where the power is going to come from. Everything else has got to be relaxed because tension kills the sound, right? I got that from the breathing gym. Sam Palafian said that. I was like, God, that is genius. Tension kills sound. Tension where? Your shoulders, tension in your lips, right? You want to displace that tension, right? That tension is there for a reason. It's there because you need support, right? And if you don't have the support there underneath your navel, it's going to manifest here. So you want to let this go so that it can resonate, right? So the support is between your hips, okay? You take a deep breath, that's where it's coming from. Moreover, when you have a crescendo, you got to pace it in such a way that you got the juice where it's supposed to be, right? On the last note. If you give the too much beforehand, you painted yourself in the corner and you're like, stuck, right? It happens to the best of us, okay? Don't think you're special. It happens to the best of us. Let's do it again, okay? I'm here. Bring it. Let's get our rhythm section going, okay? The last time through.
1.
That's a great way to end. Nice job. Nice job. Okay, so your job is to subscribe to the YouTube, right? Help tell all your friends, right? So that we get, I think we got a really great thing going, and I want to get it going even more next semester, okay? Take a couple of days off and then renewed vigor, right, to your practice, right? Keep your comments coming. Please ask me questions if you have them. And please be safe. I want you to come back all healthy and happy in the new year, okay? You too. Yeah. Happy holidays. Hit the green button. We're